Good morning, I'm Rick Ramhap, and on behalf of my hard-working partners Janet Anderson and Stephanie Stern, welcome to First LEGO League Challenge Preparation Day for the CargoConnect season. This year's qualifiers will be different than past seasons in a number of ways. Let's walk through those. First, we expect to have a hybrid model in which teams will compete in live robot runs, but will present their innovation projects to the judges remotely. However, please note that we are prepared to have completely remote events if needed. Teams will participate on 2 weekends this year. Live robot runs will be held on January 22nd and 23rd. Remote judging sessions will be held on January 29th and 30th. This season, all in-person portions of the qualifiers will be held at Mineola High School in Garden City Park. Of course, our goal is to keep everyone involved, teams, coaches, and volunteers, as safe as possible. There will be special requirements in place, including social distancing, no spectators, mask requirements, and other site restrictions. Requirements may change depending on the circumstances at any time. Now here's what a qualifier may look like. We will be expanding our space at Mineola to use 2 separate gyms simultaneously. We will also be doing some time shifting. There are 2 sections within each gym, the first beginning at 9 a.m. and the second beginning at 10:40 a.m. So the Saturday morning qualifier is comprised of 2 sections each in 2 gyms, or 4 sections total, with 8 teams in each, for a total of 32 teams participating overall in that qualifier. If your team is in the Saturday morning qualifier, then you'll be assigned to the red gym or the blue gym and either section 1 or section 2. Now we expect to have 3 qualifiers, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, and Sunday morning, all with similar schedules. We can add a 4th on Sunday afternoon if necessary based on the number of teams registered. Due to the multiple gyms and sections, we don't expect that there will be a real-time score displayed in the gyms. We are working on a couple of options that may allow us to provide scores online during the events, but at the very least, teams will be able to access their scores in the first event hub at the conclusion of the robot portion of each qualifier. We'll keep you posted on that as that evolves. Also, due to the use of multiple gyms and sections, there must be 1 adult with each team at all times. Coaches cannot go back and forth between teams in a gym, and coaches cannot go between one gym and the other. We'll do our best to have multiple teams from a school traveling in the same bus assigned to the same gym and same section. Teams of up to 10 students and 2 adult coaches will be assigned a gym and a section for a time slot of up to 2 hours. The team will leave at the conclusion of its matches to allow time for the next group of teams to register. Since teams will be on site for only a short time, there will be no food available for purchase, and only water will be allowed in the gym. Now, there will be no practice tables available at the qualifier, and teams are not allowed to bring any challenge setups with them. As a final note regarding in-person events, if conditions change, and the robot rounds must be done remotely, teams may use the first event hub, but more about that shortly. As I mentioned earlier, we are also preparing for fully remote qualifiers if needed, and we want you to be prepared. This requires reviewing the documentation available from FIRST on their website and the FIRST YouTube channel. The documentation includes necessary information regarding lighting and camera setup. A little later, head referee Troy Douglas will also have more to say on this topic. We need to be flexible and prepared for change, so please note that your robot must be ready to run its programs by the end of day on Wednesday, January 12th. If we know we need to revert to remote qualifiers for the robot runs, you will then need to record your 3 robot runs and submit them by Friday, January 14th, so the referees have time to review them. Now let's talk about judging. As I said, all judging will be done remotely. The judging weekend will have the same 3 qualifiers, or 4 if needed. If your team is in the Saturday morning qualifier for the robot portion of the event, it will be in the Saturday morning qualifier a week later for the judging portion. There can be no changes to this schedule. Regarding the first event hub, a team's designated head coach and only the designated head coach will receive an invitation by email to log into the hub. If you participated last year, your login should still be active and you can go into the hub and accept the invitation. If you didn't participate last year, your invitation will take you to the hub so you can set up your account. Don't delay. We can't schedule your team for a qualifier until you've accepted this invitation. Once we let you know that the schedules for your team's robot and judging sessions are available, the designated head coach can sign into the first event hub to access them. The closing and awards ceremony will be a combined remote event for all three qualifiers on Thursday, February 3rd at 7 p.m. So in closing, please plan for the on-site qualifiers in Mineola, but also prepare for a possible remote robot submission as well. The decision won't be made until much closer to the qualifier weekends. And finally, we should let you know that the first event hub is working much better this year, but if any issues develop, we do have a backup plan in place. Please note any questions you have, and we'll address them at the conclusion of these presentations. Now here's what to expect for the rest of Preparation Day. Shortly, we'll hear from our judge advisors about this season's innovative project remote judging process. Following the judges, we'll hear from head referee Troy Douglas covering things that you can do to be prepared for both in-person robot runs as well as some tips for remote recording if needed. Finally, you can join us following this presentation for a live Q&A session. That will take place in a Zoom webinar format where you'll be able to submit your questions. You can get the link for the webinar on our website at firstlongisland.org/prepday. Now here are some key dates to keep in mind this season. Please note that these presentations will be available here on YouTube, so you're welcome to come back and review them later. If you missed our training day sessions, you can also review those on our YouTube channel as well. Thanks to all of you for your attention and flexibility. Now, here are our judge advisors.
Hi, I'm Andy Margolin.
Hi, I'm Trish Poggio.
Hi, my name is Svena Sladik-Mahart.
And we are the judge advisors.
Now, new for last season, we have moved to a 30-minute judging format. Now, all judging is combined with 2 to 3 judges collaborating to rate the teams. Judging will be remote again this year. Only coaches will be allowed to accompany teams at our competitions, but remember, the kids do the work.
Here are some tips from the judges. Judges look to see that all team members participate. Be prepared to answer questions and be sure everyone gets a chance to speak. The judges want to see and hear everyone. If you are together as a group, the computer may be too far away to hear speakers. How will you solve that? Presentations should be live. PowerPoints or videos can support your project. Materials uploaded to the first event hub will be seen as backup. In project judging, plan to convince the judges that your project rocks. It's innovative and it solves a problem. You've done your research and shared the results with others in your community. Tell us, how did you do that?
For robot design judging, show the best parts of your robot design and strategy. Maybe talk about how your team collaborated to strategize and work to overcome problems. Share your coding using screen sharing.
Now, for the core values judging, tell us how your team integrated the core values in all activities. Remember, the judges will be evaluating core values throughout the 30-minute judging session, but referees also will be scoring gracious professionalism during the robot game this year, for which they will input a score value that will count towards 1/3 of your overall core values judging.
Download the rubrics from firstinspires.org. Use the rubrics to improve your presentation. Try grading yourself. Did you miss anything important?
First, considers all parts of the competition: innovation, project, robot design, core values, and the robot game to be equal contributions to your overall ranking among teams at the competition. The champion award goes to the best all-around team. Each team can only win one award, with the exception of robot performance. The teams with the best all-around scores will advance to the championship. A team might win an award by being best in one area, but not score high enough overall to advance.
This is so important. Consider nominating a coach or mentor for the Coach Mentor Award. You know these people have helped make your season a possibility. Now, honor them by sending in a nomination for the Coach Mentor Award to stephanie.stern@firstlongisland.org by January 15th. Make a note of it now.
Here again are some key dates for the qualifiers. Now would be a great time to take a photo. This presentation will remain on YouTube throughout the season, so you'll be able to refer to it as needed. While you're here, why not subscribe to our YouTube channel? Now here's First LEGO League Challenge Regional Head Referee, Troy Douglas.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 2021-2022 season of First LEGO League Challenge, CargoConnect. My name is Troy Douglas and I'm the Regional Head Referee for Long Island. Today we're going to be going over a little bit of logistics, event logistics for the season, as well as some of the stumbling points that you may come across in terms of field setup and just the field in general. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So for this year, this is a screenshot of a picture of the field. This year there's 17 missions in total. Again, you can do any number of those missions. There's no order in which you have to complete them, and nor is there a specific minimum number of missions that you have to complete. You're free to do as many missions in whatever order you like. So the field consists of 3 different areas. You have your home area, you have your launch area, and then you have the remainder of the field. For home, at the start of every match, you start with 1 turbine blade, 1 platooning truck, 6 container contents, 1 package, and 3 gray containers inside of the home area at the beginning of every match. You can then use those to complete other missions. You do not need to bring those pieces to the field. They will be provided for you at the field in the event of a live event. And we'll get into a little bit more about in-person versus remote events in a little bit. For this year, match scoring. This year, the event hub, which is what we used last year for our events, for our remote events, they're expanding it for use for in-person events as well. So all of our scoring will be in the event hub. This year, there is an official scoring calculator on the event hub. The link is shown here on the PowerPoint slide. Please do not use third-party or team-created scoring apps. Please use the scoring app, because we've had issues in the past where teams have unfortunately not found out until the event that their scoring app, the scoring app that they were using was incorrect. And we really want to avoid that. We want to give you all the best chance for success that you can have. So the best bet is to use the official scoring app that's provided by First. That will be the same scoring app that we will be using in our competitions, whether it's an in-person or in the event of a remote event. In the event that you cannot use an app and you need a paper copy, that is also provided on the First website, and it should closely mimic the app version of the scoring software. Let's jump into event logistics. So in-person versus remote. So this season, we are planning for what we're calling a hybrid model, in that judging will be remote, but the robot runs will be in person, albeit with some changes from previous seasons. With that being said, I'm just going to go over in-person versus remote in the event that we have to go remote. So in terms of a live event, just as a sort of a refresher, it's a 2.5-minute match. You have 3 matches, your top score counts, and then students will review the match score with the table referee after each match. At the end of the match, they'll meet with the referee. They go through everything that they were able to score on the field. They sign off, they initialize, and then the match is over. There's a little bit of a change if it's a live event, and we'll go into that. So in the event of a remote event, which would be the same situation as last year, there would be a video submission. So the robot runs would have to have a video submission. One of the biggest concerns that we had last season was the quality of video submissions. And by quality, I mean there was a lot of teams that weren't showing scoring conditions post-match. The camera was moving around the field during the match. The video didn't focus on the field, so it was extremely blurry. And in some cases, it was very poor lighting, so it was very dark. And we really couldn't see what either scoring conditions were going on or what the robot was doing on the field. So I highly recommend that you take the time to really make sure to fully understand the video recording document. There's a video as well as a PDF file located on the First website that goes in a lot of detail into what it should look like and what the requirements for a proper video submission are. So basic requirements is that we need an unedited recording of each run, before, during, and after, with no pauses or cuts. For local, we're looking for approximately, it's 5 to 7 minutes in total. Again, that's not a hard rule. We're just looking, in general, 5 to 7 minutes. It consists of your pre-match, match, and post-match footage. I recommend that you work together to streamline this process so that you don't end up with extremely long videos, because there are size limits to the videos that you can upload to the hub, to the event hub. So I definitely recommend that you follow the follow the guidance on the First website, as well as work together to try and streamline this process. Another thing is, if you have basket mechanisms that capture mission models, feel free to submit a picture of the assembly or combination to the hub to help with referee clarification. Now, again, they're still working on the hub, so there may be some updates that will come out about submissions to the hub, and those will be sent out by the program delivery partner to the coaches. One key point is the camera should not be moving at all during the match. We need a full view of the field and home with good lighting. So that doesn't mean that you need a professional setup, a tripod, or anything like that. It just means that if it's a camera set up on a tripod or it's someone holding a cell phone, that person should be stationary for the entire match. That includes the pre, during, and post-match. So prior to the robot run, this for the most part covers for the most part, covers the in the event of a remote or in-person events. Prior to your robot run, when you get to the table, you're showing all of your equipment and the robot and home. You're pointing out any motors, sensors. You need to show that all your equipment, including the innovation project model, that does not include models that start off in home that are part of the field, fit into either the small or large inspection area and have a height no greater than 12 inches. For a video, it needs to be, for video submission, it needs to be shown using a 12-inch ruler. At an event, we will have rulers there and the referee will be inspecting that at the table. You need to make sure that you're showing the innovation project model prior to the start of the match. In the event of in-person or video submissions, that needs to be shown to the referee. This time can be used to calibrate sensors outside of home. You cannot practice runs. You cannot interact with any of the mission models, but you can calibrate sensors. This is the time in the event, for a live event, this is the time to double check the field setup and ask the referee to verify if something doesn't look right. We're more than happy to double check the field. We're all human. It's quite possible we could have missed something, but we definitely want to reiterate to make sure that when you get to the table, you take a look at the field setup. If you see anything that you might question, do not touch the field. Ask the referee to inspect it for you, and then we can take a closer look at it. During the robot run, so there's a little bit of a difference between an in-person versus a virtual match. So we'll start with the in-person. So in-person, there'll be a verbal countdown to start the match, which is, example, 3, 2, 1, Lego. There's only 2 students at the table at a time. Team members can swap in and out during the match as many times as they like, but there should only be 2 team members at the table at any one time. Everyone else stands back. All attachments must stay at the table. So all attachments, anything that the team plans on using to compete during a match, any Lego pieces that they bring must be stored within home and stay on the table during the match. They can't be held by someone who's away from the table or anything. They must be stored at the table. There are no extra side tables, and you can't have extra bins that hang off the table or are stored on the table. Another thing is that directions for mission sections, what program to select, what attachments to put on should be coming from the students, not the coaches. And that goes back to one of the basic tenets of First Lego League Challenge is that the students do the work. It's up to the students to figure out what missions they want to do, what attachments they want to use, and how they want to complete their robot run. For a virtual event, that would include video submissions where referees will be reviewing those submissions and then scheduling a review session at a later date to go over the overall score. So for this case, you have a clear approved view with good lighting, which we'll go into. You have a please provide a verbal cue for the run start. Example again, 3, 2, 1, Lego, to signify the start of your actual run on your video. A big one is do not walk, or do not, make sure no one is walking in front of the camera. They're not moving the camera or stopping recording during a match. The recording needs to be unedited and it needs to be continuous from pre-match to post-match. Again, there's only 2 students at the table at any one time, same whether it's in person or virtual. Again, all attachments must stay at the table, and again, the students do the work. Coaches should not be dictating any missions or what attachments to put on or what programs to select. After robot run. So in the event of a virtual, do not stop recording. This is when you're going to be highlighting the individual missions with the camera. This is where you can, after getting an overall shot of the field, this is where you can walk through the missions and have close-ups and show the scoring conditions of the individual missions. So for an in-person event, this time is where the referees will score the match, and then we'll walk through the score sheet with the two students at the table, going over everything. The big thing here is that when the referee is going over the score sheet with the students, it's extremely important that any questions that any team member has are addressed at that point at the table. We're more than happy to spend extra time to explain and to go through why things were scored the way that they were, but it's extremely difficult, if not impossible, to go back matches later and try and change something. So it's really important that everyone understands the rules and understands all of the scoring conditions on the field, so that they can ask a question right then and there at the table. So there's a couple of notable changes or key points that I really wanted to highlight for the 2021-2022 season. First one being that this is gracious professionalism is actually being brought, or is now, gracious professionalism is now being judged throughout the competition, from judging to the competition table. So starting this year, referees at the table will be marking gracious professionalism exhibited by the team. Every team will get a score for each of their 3 matches, and that will go towards judging. As you see here, every team basically starts with a 3 and can move up or down from there, depending on interactions with volunteers, each other, the audience. In general, we're grading the team on the gracious professionalism on the competition at the competition area. So now it's sort of full circle in that it goes from judging to the competition area. One thing to note is that especially for a live event, if you're not able to make your match, please let the head referee or a designated event official, whoever we decide, and that will be disclosed prior to the event, know that you will not be able to make your match prior to the match start. If you don't, your team gets a 0 for a gracious professionalism score for that match. Home and launch area designation. So when launching, one thing to remember is that the home and launch areas are bounded by the inner vertical face of the border wall. We have a lot of time where teams have attachments that overhang the wall. That technically is not within the launch area. So please make sure that you tuck in cables, like arms, motors, any part of your robot or anything that it's carrying needs to be completely contained within the launch area when launching out onto the field. The same thing goes with returning to home. We've had teams in the past have an arm that sticks over the south border wall as it's driving into home. The team touches the robot, they get a precision token. They end up losing a precision token. The reason for that is, again, it's not completely in home. The robot is partially out of home. And we'll go into a little bit about the certain situations based on in-home interruptions versus partially in-home interruptions versus completely outside of home interruptions. Equipment updates. So this year, any software platform can be used as long as the robot is moving autonomously, controlled by a controller. So that's RCX, NXT, EV3, or Spike Prime. One thing we did notice with a lot of teams last year that used the Spike Prime was that they had a laptop on the field to select from programs. That is not allowed, and it won't be allowed this year. Any method of selecting programs has to be done from the controller itself. You cannot have a laptop at the competition area. That's the same for virtual or in-person events. There should never be a laptop at the competition table during a match run. Another thing here is that there are no side tables. Items can be brought to the competition table in a bin, but all parts to be used by the team during a match must be stored within home during the match. They can't be stored outside of home. They can't be stored on the floor or in a bin or held by another team member that's not at the field. Another thing is please do not touch any items on the field other than your robot or its attachments or cargo. Please do not touch mission models, trying to either fix them or adjust them or take a look at them. If you have any questions on the field setup, please just ask the referee and the referee can address them. Mission model interaction. So there's a couple of stumbling points that I want to make sure that everyone's on the same page. So this year, the container contents, which are mission 2, the kit itself comes with 2 sets of those parts. Only one set is used on the field. The other set is just spare pieces. Rule 4 has been clarified from previous seasons. Again, you still can't connect mission models to equipment or other models by interlocking the Lego studs. Mission models can be secured together or to equipment in accordance with R04, with the idea that they can be removed within 1 to 2 seconds without separate Lego tools, or meaning by hand, without using extra Lego pieces and without breaking the pieces. They cannot be disassembled even temporarily in this process. If it is, then it's in violation of Rule 4. When it comes to interruption or stranded cargo procedure, there's a table here that I made to kind of clarify what happens given the different circumstances. So in the event of there's no cargo, and at the time of the robot interruption, the robot's not completely in home, you lose a precision token. If it is completely in home, then you relaunch with no penalties. If the cargo is in home, but the robot is not completely in home, you lose a precision token, but you keep the cargo. In the case that both the cargo and the robot are in home, you keep the cargo and you can relaunch. In the case of the fact that the cargo is partially out of home and was with the robot during its last launch, but the robot is not completely in home, you keep the cargo and you lose 1 precision token. If the cargo is partially out of home and was with the robot during last launch, and the robot is completely in home, you get to keep the cargo. However, if the cargo is partially out of home and was not with the robot during its last launch, in other words, it's a piece of cargo that was picked up from somewhere out on the field, so it was not with the robot when it left the launch area in its last launch, and the robot is not completely in home, the referee actually removes the cargo from the field and you lose a precision token. The referee then holds onto that cargo for the remainder of the match and you have no access to it. In the event of a virtual event, either a coach or someone can hold that cargo piece, or a team member can take it off the field and hold on to it separately. In the event that the robot is completely in home, the referee just removes the cargo from the field, but no precision token is lost. So this kind of clarifies what happens in certain situations based on when you interrupt your robot with cargo. So the next step we're going to go into is a little bit of the field setup highlights. So with that, we're going to move on to our next part of the this video, which is going over the field setup highlights. So I'm just going to review some of the missions that have a specific way that they either need to be set up or built, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page and trying to eliminate any issues where teams have an incorrectly assembled model that they're practicing with. So to start, for the mission with mission 2, which is unused capacity, again, I'll repeat. So we have every kit actually comes with 2 sets of container contents. Only one is used during a match, and it starts in the home area at the start of every match. There's only one set that's used, and it's 6 pieces, 2 orange, 3 green, and 1 blue piece that are used for this mission. Mission 6, accident avoidance. This is a mission that you really want to be careful of. It's very susceptible to being knocked over by shaking the table. So we're all for getting excited, we're all for celebrating, but just be careful around the table because it's very easy to knock this over. And it's with the location that it's on the field, it's very difficult to reset it during a match because although you don't see it here, there's actually another table, competition table, that's on the other side of the north wall with another team that's competing at the same time as you. So it's very difficult for anybody to reset that during a match without interrupting or potentially knocking anything else over on the field. So be very careful around the table that you're not shaking the table either when you're setting up your robot to launch or when you're tagging in and out or just moving around the field. Unload cargo ship. So for this, the west platform, which is this one here, should swing smoothly without sticking. You should just be able to push it and it should swing freely. It shouldn't stick. The wheels will barely touch the mat, and it should swing freely. That's how you know that it's operating properly. The crane should drop the container when pushed all the way west. So in this case, what you see here is that when it's all the way east, it's lifted. When it's all the way west, it actually drops the container onto the east platform of the ship. Mission 8, airdrop. So this is one mission that has 2 different scoring conditions based on the team setup, based on the match setup. So for virtual events, the food package, which is shown here, will start completely in base. If you interact with the model to trigger it, you'll receive 30 points, which is scoring conditions A and C. The same situation happens when you have a team that does not show up to the other field. If there's a no-show on the other field that's facing you. Again, please pay attention to the trigger mechanism while you're building. If you look here, pay attention to the number of holes that these pegs are on. It's very easy to build this incorrectly, and it will not operate properly if you do that. Mission 9, train tracks. For this mission, you really want to pay attention to the dual lock locations as well as the track alignment. For this mission, it's very easy for, if you misplace some of these support locations, the track will not be aligned and the train can run the risk of jumping off the track because the track isn't aligned. So you really want to pay attention to, as you can see here, the black markings where they show you where the dual lock and the supports are supposed to go, as well as when you assemble it, you want to make sure that all the track is in alignment. In this case, you see here there is a little bit of a gap. That is normal. The idea is that the track is, for the most part, on the same level and straight, and in that case, it will operate as normal. Mission 10, Sorting Center. So for this match, or for this mission, the setup at the start of a match is random. Now, for in-person events, we will be randomizing that for each match. At the start, prior to the start of the match. For virtual events, we will have to give a configuration ahead of time for the 3 runs, and in both cases, that will be based on the roll of a die, of a 6-sided die. We have a table here that we came up with that shows the what the container positions are based on the roll of the die. So you have your 3 different containers, your blue, your light orange, and your lime green container. If you notice, blue is always on the bottom, the light orange is always in the middle, the green is always in the top row. The column will what column it's in will be determined by the roll of the die. So if you roll a 1 or a 2 or a 3, you have those configurations. 4 or 5 or a 6, and you have those configurations. It's good to practice with this method on your own as well, so that you're not getting too used to the containers being in any one specific condition or position, or you also get used to, you end up getting used to working with the containers in different areas and programming to account for that. Mission 13, Platooning Trucks. One thing to take a look at for this is, for the platooning trucks, you have a latch on the back. This right here, this red mechanism here, you want to make sure that that swings freely. It's not sticking. Same thing goes for the latching mechanisms on the bridge. One thing to notice on the bridge is that there's this little blue peg here that needs to be there. Otherwise, this can get stuck in the down position and this mission will not work. So pay attention and make sure that that's there. Same goes for the tracks here. You want to make sure that this spins freely and that there's no issues as well. So with that, we're going to go on to a small example of video recording, of an example of what it might look like for a video recording setup in the event of a remote event. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to go over some of the requirements for video submissions in the event that we have to go remote at all this season. So your video submission is going to consist of 3 main parts: your pre-match, your match, and then your post-match. Again, this will be completely unedited and in a continuous video throughout this entire process. For your pre-match, You can move the camera closer to the table and have it handheld. That's fine. The idea is you want to show your robot and any attachments, anything that you're bringing to the table to compete with for that match, either fit in the small or large inspection area and is no taller than 12 inches, as shown with a ruler. That time is also where you're going to be showcasing any innovation model that you have, as well as highlighting any motors and sensors on your robot. At that time, you can also calibrate your sensors on the field. The main thing to remember is that you cannot interact with any of the missions. You should not be trying to do a practice run on with any of the missions or interacting with any of them, any of the mission models. When you're ready to start your match, you should have a verbal countdown, such as 3, 2, 1, Lego, to signify the start of the match. At that point, your 2.5-minute match has begun, and then you run it as if it were an in-person event. You're going to try and complete as many missions as you can in any order that you like. When your match is either the time is complete or you have finished all of your matches, you can end your match by saying match is over or any sort of verbal cue, and then a reason if you do end your match early. At that point in time, after having an overview of the field, you're going to bring the camera closer to the field, and then you're going to walk through mission by mission what you ended up getting, what you didn't do, and highlighting each of the missions. The idea is to make sure that you show the scoring conditions for each mission up close, so that the referees can give you all the points you deserve. One of the most difficult parts is trying to score something if you can't really see it. There isn't any way to do that. So please make sure that you're showing the scoring conditions on camera as you're going over each of these missions. Again, at this point, it should still be the same recording. It should never have stopped at any point in time during this recording process. After you go through all of your missions, highlight anything else that's kind of noteworthy that you think that you want to make sure that the referees understand or anything. Now's the time to do it. Put it on video, and then at that point, you can stop your recording, and your recording is over. One thing to note is that during the mission, during the robot run itself, your camera should not be tracking the robot going through the missions. That was an issue that we had last year, is that the camera should be stationary during the actual match run itself, in a specific position. Before and after, there are times when you can move the camera, but during the missions itself, it needs to be stationary. If it's not, that is something that could potentially result in a 0 score for that mission. So overall, the video submission requirements are highlighted on the first website, both in a PDF form as well as on a video. It goes into great detail with what the video should consist of and how it should be filmed. Be sure to really look into that and understand what needs to be done, because we really do not want to have to give any submissions a 0 score. We really want everyone to be successful and have the best season they can possibly have, regardless of whether we have to go remote or whether we're able to do a full in-person. So with that, I'm just bring up a slide here that has a lot of your key robot game resources. So you have your overall First LEGO League Challenge season resources for the 2021-2022 season. You have the official score calculator on the event hub on the first website. You have the robot game rulebook, which will have updates. Please make sure to read it and to keep going through it. Make sure you understand the scoring conditions. Make sure you understand the different rules. Make sure you understand the field setup. It'll really help you all be successful for this season. There's actually an interactive version this year that I find is a little bit easier to navigate. One of the most important documents that you need to follow is the rulebook updates. They will have regular updates posted. You should be checking this regularly. There will be updates to rules. There will be clarifications to rules. It's extremely important that you are constantly looking at this document. It will help you be successful for this season. You'll catch, if you have a question, chances are another team probably has a very similar question, and it may be clarified in this document. They have the video recording tutorial that goes over how to film a good robot run video. And then they have a document that does the same thing. It highlights what makes up a successful robot run video in the event of a remote event. With that, that's all I have. So again, good luck and have fun transporting yourselves to a new adventure this season. I wish everyone a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy this season, and I look forward to seeing all of you at competition. Thank you.
Here again are some key dates for the qualifiers. Now would be a great time to take a photo. This presentation will remain on YouTube throughout the season, so you'll be able to refer to it as needed. While you're here, why not subscribe to our YouTube channel? If you're watching the premiere of this presentation, you're invited to a live Q&A webinar starting shortly. You can get the link on our website at firstlongisland.org/prepday. See you there.